Welcome to another Monday episode of Arch City Sports. I'm your host, AJ Nance, and I am joined by two people in this one, Jaden McClain, who was with us last week, and also Coach Malik Griffin. Coach Griffin Training on Instagram, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So I have these two gentlemen with me today to cover and recap some games in the high school area here, or the high school scene here in St. Louis. Also some player performances to recap, and then some games to watch this upcoming week. Let's start with Vianney versus DeSmet. That was a game that Malik and I were at last night, and I think Jaden, maybe you were able
That was
to
it.
live
Yeah,
stream it.
yeah. I caught bits and pieces of it. Yeah,
Perfect.
so
So yeah,
I'll
it
kind of
was
start with that.
yeah, you got it.
Yeah. Let's do it. We talked about last week. This is kind of one of the main games to watch, the Coaches vs. Cancer tournament. So this is going to be a third. This is going to be. They're going to have three meetings throughout the season. So this was the first one was kind of to see where they stand, see where Vianney is. DeSmet actually held Luke to his lowest of the season, 21 points. He had some hard players guarding him in the second half. It was kind of rough for him. The first half was a lot easier. And then the coach, I guess, in the second half, he didn't want Coach Walsh to have any changes of game plan in the second half, so he threw it to him in the second half. Where in timeouts, it's a lot harder to make adjustments rather than halftime, where you can make full adjustments.
Yep.
We also talked about their role players. And then J.D. Dorman, he didn't shoot a single shot, where he's averaging about 6 shots a game. So if you take away those 8 points, I mean, it's kind of hard to win a game. I mean, and then we talked about Chase Duke only adding in 2 points. We just want to see more production out of those role players. It's kind of hard when you have 4 total role players and only 2 of them are doing things throughout the whole game rather than all 4. When they just have a
Yep.
complete 4-quarter game, I think they could beat DeSmet twice out of the 3 times, honestly.
Yeah, pretty much. Can I go? Am I all right? I was just making sure I can go. So, can y'all hear me? I feel like I'm delayed or something.
No, we hear you.
No, y'all cool? All right, because I see that percentage down there. Keep going up and down. But yeah, just to go off what Jaden said, man. Overall, bro, Vianney has a has a good team, but like I feel like they need more of their role players to step up and play like with Luke Walsh and to help complement him a little bit more on the offensive end. We already know he gonna get his buckets. We already know he gonna do his thing, but we need some of those role players. But I seen like Ben Kirsten knocking lights out, bro. Lights out in the first half. He cooled down in the second half. But overall, great game. DeSmit had a great game plan for Luke. Soon as he crossed half court, they already had 2 people right there for him. So, yeah, overall, great game. Great game by DeSmit. A good defensive performance by them.
I think it's overall a pretty relatively even matchup, especially when it comes to size. In this one,
Yeah.
like we saw Vianney versus Chaminade last week, and Chaminade had a huge advantage inside that was giving them a lot of issues. This matchup, I think, I think all three of us can agree has more talent than Vianney in this one.
Yeah.
But overall, like the first half seemed kind of sleepy in a way to me. Like I don't know why there wasn't really a lot of energy and hype in this one. And then this third quarter began, and I think DeSmet went on like a 8-0 run. They turned over Vianney a couple times, and that brought some
Hmm.
energy. I just couldn't find a place to sit, so I sat on DeSmet's side, kind of indifferent in this one, and it just seemed kind of I don't know, kind of sleepy at the very beginning, but it definitely picked up.
No, I was gonna say they woke up real
Yeah,
quick.
a couple turnovers will do it. But yeah, you guys mentioned Luke held to his season low 21 points. Riley Massey was on him a lot of the time. Long, lanky defender. I thought Ian Thomas was really solid, really strong,
Oh man,
strong
strong.
player.
I,
I
I
mean,
told you last week in the episode, he's good. He's a
he's
true
the one
point
Yeah.
that I
guard.
didn't mention in the clip that I made. But no, they kind of played off of him pretty far into the lane, and just I don't know. I
The
understand you don't
thing,
want him to shoot, but it kind of gave him a full head of steam downhill to create off of
I
that.
think I think that's
Um,
the worst way to guard a non-shooter. The worst way.
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
You
I
understand
get to
like.
the
giving a
lane, you
little
have the
space.
yeah. I mean, he's a true point guard, so his ability to pass is. I mean, when no one's guarding you, it's way more easy, a lot easier than when someone's 2 feet away from you. You got a hand in your dribbling space. So, I mean,
Mhm.
I think a lot of teams will kind of change that in the near future. I mean, he's really their main point guard. So if you can limit his assist and his ability to get to the lane, I think a lot of teams are going to be able to beat them in other ways.
I like the way that to piggyback off of Ian Thomas. I like the way how he can set up the plays and run the offense. You know what I'm saying? And I like how the way he can when he's in air, he can move his body a certain. He doesn't look athletic, but he's actually like sneaky athletic. Like so, like I really like his game. That was my first time seeing him play in person. I like it a lot. I like him. I like Will Folk a lot. Great knockdown shooter. And I also like Jordan Boyd. Jordan Boyd, they're big. That's down there. That's real solid. That I really like. So he went. He actually. I don't think he missed a shot that game. Honestly, against Deani.
You guys know what I think was the turning point in this one, to an extent, was I believe it was end of the third quarter, side out, I believe, or maybe just across half court with like 4 seconds left.
Yeah.
Pretty, in my opinion, from my angle actually right in front of me, kind of a lazy closeout on Riley Massey, and he drilled that three to make it a 4-point game go into the fourth instead of a 1-point game. I think that was a huge turning point, a lot of momentum off of that, and they obviously ended up winning in this one. Anything more on this game before we move on to the next one?
I'm just saying, I'm gonna just put this out there. That conference, with Chaminade and all the, those private schools. This is another strong year of them having a lot of talent in that conference, and I really like it. I was just talking to my boy in the stands. He was like, "This is like the SEC of like conferences." You know what I'm saying? Like that's the best way for me to put it. Like so it's like I enjoy watching that. I enjoyed watching that game last night. It was really good basketball.
Yeah, packed house too.
Yeah, real packed.
The next one here, I actually was not able to go to this one. It was right before the Vianney DeSmet one, and I thought me and Jaden talked last week. We thought it was going to be right after the Vianney DeSmet one.
Yeah,
so they still met against each other, but that's Westminster versus Webster Groves, a game that came down to the very end. Jaden, were you able to watch any of this one?
I could not catch this one, but after looking back at some stats and some film, I mean, after seeing Webster get beat by 20 to Marquette, I was kind of worried, kind of putting their season in jeopardy already. I don't like to downplay anybody's season, but I mean, like we talked about last week, and we keep preaching. I mean, role players is how you win games. Obviously, you're going to have your star player, but if your role players can't get in sync with your main guys, your main two guys, I mean, you're not going to win in the long run. I wasn't able to catch this one, but
I just think at the end of the day, Miles is only 14. We got to put that in consideration. He's still young. He doesn't know the counter moves yet of these players or what they do. And I feel like he's going to pick it up during along the season and stuff like that. But again, the role players are huge, very huge in the game of high school basketball. Like again, what Jaden said, Scotty going to do what he going to do. But it's about the role players at that point. Like, you can tell I saw he was a little fatigued when I was watching the game. They keep him in pretty much the whole time, but they call timeouts to try to give him a breather. But another person I want to talk about is Will Powers. He cut the lead. He had a 4-point play. He had a 4-point play to cut the lead down to 1 to Webster. But he overall had a really good game. Him and JD, what's his last name? JD Robertson, yes.
Yeah.
Really good player, man. 3-level scorers, bro, all around the court for Ladue. Sorry, Westminster. So
yeah,
really nice.
No, yeah,
really
you
nice.
guys. I think you might have mentioned it slightly, but Westminster kind of a huge upset with Melville. I believe it was the game before that.
Yeah.
Was kind of
I thought it was Hickman.
Hickman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hickman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hickman.
I also kind of piggyback off those role players. I mean, if you get role players that kind of get in sync, now it takes away from your main guy kind of getting all the what am I trying to say? All the focus, and then now you have the ability to play 5-on-5 basketball rather than your man's getting double teamed, and now I have to pass to a role guy, and it's like, okay, like I'm not really worried about him. But if all guys get in sync, now you got a whole new ball game.
Yeah, and crazy part is they was double teaming him at a half. He didn't even get the ball yet. They were still double teaming him. And I'm like, okay, if that's not going to work, coach, at least bring somebody else down that can handle the ball. And then run an off-ball screen for him to go get open so he can come get the ball and he can run the play. It's tiring him out because, like, he's trying to do all of this and trying to move over 2 people. You know what I'm saying? So like overall, they won the game, but I feel like the execution of towards the end of the game needs to be a little better for Webster.
And I like the idea of tournaments in the early season because you really don't get that throughout the season. It's kind of you play 2 games a week, but when you get to that state
Yep.
tournament, now you got to play back to back. So now you kind of see where you are, where you stand, and what do I need to do in preparation for the next game.
Yep.
Yeah, you mentioned like having the star player maybe play off the ball more, and I kind of
Yes.
like that as well because that's what Vianney did the majority of that game. Have Brock or Ben at times bring it up, and
I think
move off the ball.
it's a little different. I think it's a little different for Rihanna. You got Ben. I mean, he could shoot the ball, bring it up, but then you
Yeah.
also have JD that could bring the ball up, Brock that could bring the ball up. I think those two teams are a little bit different as far as players with ball handling abilities. I mean, as we know, Scotty's the main ball handler, and I don't know who they feel more comfortable with bringing it up, Quincy or Jackson or Miles. I really don't know. So that's something they probably have to figure out if they want to have a productive year.
Yep.
Season's still young, so I feel like they're gonna turn it
Very.
around pretty quick. Season's still young.
Yep.
The last game to recap here from this tournament, Marquette versus Hickman. What did you guys see here?
Marquette is actually solid. They gonna prove a lot of people wrong, man. That boy Brody and what's his name? God, Alex. What's his last name? Number
It's
52.
like
Comorek, something
Comric.
like that?
Comorax,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, there we go. Man, them two is exciting to watch, man. Like it's just their energy and how they can play off ball and create their own shot. And just with them being long and lanky, they can get in the passing lanes, start the fast break. Like I like watching Marquette a lot. Hickman was just a little too tired, I feel like. They just didn't have enough to keep up with Marquette.
Jaden, were you able to watch this one at all?
I did not catch this one, but I know Columbia does have some talent down there or over there, I
Yeah.
guess. And I'm gonna kind of mention them a little bit later. Some Columbia talent.
This Marquette, what is it? Marquette De Smet matchup. We're gonna cover it, I guess, a little bit at the end here, but right now, off the top of your heads, I mean, how are you guys feeling about this matchup?
I got DeSmet winning by double digits.
I got the Smith winning.
Yeah, their ability to shoot, run in transition, make the right plays. It's when you can do that for 4 quarters. A lot of high school teams can't do that. They're very mature, so I think they pull away at this one.
I'd have to look at the numbers of what they actually shot versus Vianney, but it seemed like they were missing a lot of open looks. And if any of those go down versus Marquette, it could get out of hand pretty early. Will Folk had the first 5, but after that, Massey had a couple big shots, but there wasn't a whole lot of – I mean, there was a lot of open shots that I personally thought they were missing in that one. Let's move on to
oh, my bad.
No, you got it. What you got?
The thing is with the Smith is they play super fast too. Like they're fast. Like soon as you score a bucket, they're getting that, pushing the ball right out the net. So it's like Marquette has to be able to contain that. Soon as they score the ball, they got to get right back. So
yeah. The last thing on DeSmet, real quick. Honestly, wasn't super impressed with stuff they were running offensively. Like they weren't running anything that I was like, man, that's really strong. But they have the talent to be able to create for one another. They don't have to really draw up a whole lot to get really good looks. They have 4 guys that can penetrate and kick and fill and do those type of actions. Let's take a look at some performances from these games. We mentioned a little bit Ben Karsten, big shot maker in this one.
What, he started the game making all 5 of his shots when we were there, right? He made all 5 of his threes. He literally was catching it and just going like that. It looked like, how D'Angelo Russell catches it already going into the shot. Like, that's what it looked like. And I'm like, man, my bad. What was you going to say, Jaden?
No, I was just going to kind of talk about Ben Carson. And we talked about he's one of the – I think he's top 3 shooter in this probably the city. I don't know about state, but definitely the city.
Yeah. And I was just watching how the way he was just catching and moving off the ball. And catching his shot, getting into his rhythm. I really like his game a lot, man. Ben Carson really surprised me watching him play, and he's definitely very underrated. After me watching him, he needs to get heard about a little bit more, I feel like.
for sure.
Well,
So
he kind of stood out versus Shamanat. Had 20 plus in that one, and then
I think
20,
he had 7
25 or
threes.
so in this one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he's a definite nice co-star there for Vianney. We mentioned Will Powers just about every clip I make, every video. It's the
bro,
Will Powers show. But yeah,
he when he shot this ball, like yo, I did not think this was going in. So Scotty overplayed the screen and Scotty hit him, and Will shot it. Bow, nothing but net. And I'm like, bro, this boy right here is special, man. Only a sophomore too.
yeah,
Man, that kid's tough. He's tough.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
tough.
Did we end up getting the final stat line for that game yet?
No, I've been looking on the Post Dispatch, and like
Yeah.
I can't find they didn't put the stats in.
You put on the notes here 3-level scoring threat, and that's kind of what Jaden and I discussed last week. This guy is really good at getting to his spot and
Yep.
creating off of that. And just like Ben Carson's been a really nice co-star for Luke, JD's been a really nice co-star for Will.
Yep.
The other two guys we mentioned them slightly, Brody Owen and Alex. I think is it Komarak?
Komarak.
Something like that.
Yeah.
How do we feel
I'm
about
not
those
too
two
familiar
guys
with
in the championship game?
You got it, Jaden.
I'm not too familiar with them, so you probably know a little bit more than I would know.
With Brody, he can attack downhill pretty much at any time, but he plays off the ball. He's one of those off the ball type players. And he can create his own shot, just like what I was saying in the intro about him and Marquette. And I feel like Marquette, in order for them to be successful in the future, they have to lean more on him and Alex if they want to get to the state level and play at where state does your Mizzou, right? If they want to go play at Mizzou, win state. So overall, they also got a just solid team. They role players come in, they do their thing. They got some hustle players that come in and play, and some shot makers that come off the bench. So overall, I really like both of them.
So outside of this coaches versus cancer tournament, one of you guys put some notes on Principia guard Quentin Coleman.
Oh,
Yeah, they played down in Raleigh this weekend. They ended up winning that tournament in 3 games, 3 days. Class of 2026 currently holds one offer from Linda Wood. He has the ability to knock down a 3. He averaged 18 points over the course of these 3 games. I think they give Montgomery County a little bit of problems when it comes down to the state. I think they might meet before state, unfortunately, but I think it comes down to between those two teams. They're currently 9-0. They haven't played too tough of a competition yet, but then a couple of the next upcoming matchups, they play Columbia, led by Sam and Eddie, and then they go down to St. Mary's where they play against a pretty tough guard out of Zaire. So those will be some key matchups to look for, see how they kind of compare to those top-tier teams, top-level teams. Rather than playing the low level, and you don't really get a gauge of where you really are against low level teams because you tend to just play 3 quarters and then from there it's a blowout. Now you don't have 4 quarters, you don't get battle tested. So I think when it comes down to state, the more battle tested you are, the more prepared you are, the easier your chances of winning are.
Jaden, how do you feel about Jaden Jones of Principia, the other guard?
So he's actually a shoot 360 kid. So I see him come in. He's a tremendous worker. I mean, never a doubt in my mind when it comes to basketball and the love of the game. I'm not too familiar with him. I know he adds in a kind of spotty buckets right now. I think he's young. I think he's a sophomore, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Junior.
I think he's a sophomore, but if he add in. Oh, he's a junior. But if he could mature a little bit, add about 7-8 points a game, kind of take that spotlight off of Quinn a little bit. Bring the ball up the court. I mean, I like Principia, but like I said last week, Montgomery County is my big favorite right now. But we keep preaching these role players. If role players play a key factor, then I mean, the rest is history.
Principia. My only thing is, God, what's the kid's name? He played on the national team for his country.
Oh yeah,
what's his name?
Yeah, I know you're
Um,
talking about. I don't know his name either,
yeah,
but
I forgot his name. I think his name is like Gon.
I
I'm
know.
about to go right now. I want to say Gus. I want to say that's his
But
name, but
also with Quinn, his
you got it.
you got him.
Oh, so
Oh, okay. One
Gassim,
more
that's
thing
his
about
name.
Quinn, like
Oh, my bad. He's delayed like a motherfucker. He delayed.
I
I
think
was
it's a
gonna
little
say,
delayed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Gassim, the kid that I was just talking about, he isn't playing so well as of right now. Um, I just feel like he's still trying to get to his rhythm and figure out the game of basketball for real in the States, and like just really trying to figure himself out. That's what I want to say because he's a player I thought that was going to really you know enhance Principia to like the next level and get them to there and that. But then again, they ain't played no competition yet, so I can't really see them in that full form yet. So you gotta take that into consideration. But yeah, I like Principia a lot and Wyatt Slay, um, a great defender, great shot maker too. Um, Overall, they got a good little team. They got a good little team.
I know we're a little delayed here, but I'm going to try to hand it off to Jaden.
Yeah, I was add one more thing about Quinn. If you get a chance to watch him, watch how he creates shots. He plays off 2 feet. He hits a turnaround. He hits the transition three, and it's really hard for high schoolers to hit transition threes. Last week we talked about high schoolers same foot, same hand layups. That's hard. This week I'm kind of talk about transition threes. If you can get on balance on transition and you can knock it down at a high clip, um, it's gonna be teams. It's gonna be hard for teams to stop you in the transition, and then once you have the ability to knock down threes in transition, now it opens up so much more to the game. Ability for teams to play a lot higher. Now you have the one move and go by, get to the lane. So big kudos to him and good luck to him in his season. And hopefully Principia can give Montgomery County a little test at the end of the season.
You guys mentioned slightly across the river there, Columbia.
Yep.
They're just now getting everybody. By everybody, I mean they're two stars playing together. So Sam Donald, Eddie Smagic, having those two guys together, it might take a week or two or even longer to get these guys really gelled because they don't have prior playing experience. It'd be different if
And
maybe they played the last couple of years together.
Yeah.
One of them gets injured and now they're trying to get back together. They would have that chemistry. They don't have a lot of chemistry outside of practice or open runs or whatever they do. So it might take a little while, and maybe it doesn't. I mean, we have a 3-month time frame here. Maybe it doesn't fully click, but if it
right.
does, those two are one of the best duos in all of the area for sure.
I haven't
Yep.
watched too much on Columbia. I don't know too much about them. Are they do they got nice size on them? Or first
Yeah,
off, I didn't
Sam.
even
I think
know.
Sam's about 6'6". Eddie's about six
Uh-huh.
five. I think Sam's committed to
It's like
where's he
Bellarmine or
committed to?
something like that.
Bella, yeah, Bellarmine or something like that. Yeah, I think D1, and then you got Eddie. He kind of just came a couple weeks, not a couple weeks ago, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So like you kind of said, as far as their gelling, I mean, all these teams have summer
I'm
workouts and fall preparations, so just throwing them in the fire is going to be a big kind of transition and a big change to kind of their team and their team chemistry and what flows.
Yeah, the piggyback off Principia. I'm looking at their schedule and everyone who they played so far. The only team that they really been tested by is Father Tolton, pretty much, and I don't think they're going to get tested pretty much again the rest of the season. Oh well, St. Mary's, I take that back. And Westminster and John Burroughs. So yeah,
Yeah, I think those Westminster and Burroughs games are towards the end of the season, so that would be perfect
yeah, they
to see
towards
where they
them.
stand and see how they match up going into districts.
Hmm.
Now there are a few games this week that we need to kind of preview and take a look at. A couple that teams that we've already mentioned, but let's start with that Marquette versus DeSmet championship matchup. You guys kind of said both DeSmet. I'd probably lean that way as well. Just because the fact that what I said earlier, I think that DeSmet Vianney matchup, even though it was similar in size and honestly, I would say relatively similar in athleticism as well. I don't think there was a huge advantage. I think DeSmet does have the advantage, but it wasn't like a massive difference. I think if DeSmet knocks down some of those open shots they were missing versus Vianney, I think that game could have been a little more out of hand with how they played defensively versus Luke. And so I think in this matchup, I think the same thing. I think if DeSmet makes any of those open opportunities and doesn't have to, because they were down early in that one, they kind of had to scrap their way back into it. Maybe not back into it, but scrap their way into the lead, and then they kind of took off after that Riley Massey shot at the end of the third quarter. Anyway, I think Marquette definitely has a chance in this one, but I would definitely lean DeSmet as well.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. I just keep preaching their transition and their ability to shoot the ball. It's really tough to beat. If you could hit about 15 threes a game, which they're easily capable of doing, I mean, no one can really stop that.
The only way I think Marquette is going to pull this win out is if they can stop, if they don't turn over the ball and limit their transition buckets. That's the only way Marquette's going to win this game. They're not going to win from their shot making or personnel. They're going to win from those two things I just said: stopping transition and getting back on D, pretty much. So that's the only way Marquette's going to win. But like, it's going to be tough stopping them shooting the ball, and Ian Thomas at that too. That is so shifty. I feel like sneaky.
You know what that is that you just described? That's playing with discipline, and so we'll see if they're able to do that versus Smet. Another big, couple big games this week. The Highlands Shootout. What do you guys see? What do you guys see in this little tournament?
Yeah, I added this one to the notes. I think my main game will be John Burroughs versus Father Tolton. Two totally different teams. We see Burroughs with two towers in there, both averaging double-doubles. One's averages 17 and 11, the other one's 16 and 11. They both have high major offers. And then we see Father Tolton. They're totally different. Three guards, Aaron Rowe, Mizzou commit, Blake Pennington, McKendry commit, and then Xavier Wilson, obviously a mid-major player, even below D1 player. And Blake, another big shooter in Missouri, not just the state, but he's averaging 20 points on averaging 10 rebounds and 55% shooting from the field and 40% from the three. So I don't know how this game's going to turn out.
My bad, Jaden. But John Burroughs, well, just like what you said, it's kind of funny. Like, they got the bigs, and then Father Tolton got the guards. So, like, if anything, if I had to choose, honestly, I would go bigs.
Yeah.
I like the bigs because I can control the rebounds, and I can control the boards. You know what I'm saying? And then if one is in foul trouble, I got another one that can help me. So I think I'm gonna take John Burroughs in this game. John Burroughs.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting what you just said. One has
cool.
the definite advantage with guard play. The other has a definite advantage with post play. So we'll see which one prevails in that matchup.
You say you got Burroughs? You got Burroughs winning?
Yeah, I got Burroughs winning with the bigs.
I'm gonna flip that one. I'm gonna have to go Tolton.
Okay.
And I think I would lean
Burroughs. I just think the Burroughs guards is not gonna be able to stop.
Oh no,
athleticism.
We know that, but if I can control the boards and I can control the glass, I'm gonna take that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. That's what is that? Saturday, something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Saturday.
Yep, Saturday.
So we'll definitely be tuning into that one. Any other matchups before we wrap this episode up?
No, I actually getting kicked out. So if we could wrap this up a little quicker than anything.
Yeah, we can wrap it up. Last thing I'll say is I know we didn't cover any girls basketball in this one. I will be definitely posting some clips this week to show them some love on that side as well. I just posted one about Alex Nicastro hitting her 1,000th point and Brooke Rose dropping 25 plus in a couple games in a row. So definitely be on the lookout for that. I think this is the plan from moving forward here. Jaden and Malik both joining me on Mondays, so make sure to tune in every Monday. Of course, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, and go follow on Instagram and TikTok at Arch City Sports. We will see you guys. Actually, I will see you guys later this week for some Blues recap videos. But you'll see all three of us next Monday. Kind of recapping and looking forward to another hopefully great week of high school basketball. But we will see you guys next week.
For sure.